Hey everyone, we are back with another First Impressions video, and by we, I mean with me as always is Corey. Say hi, Corey.
Hey, how's it going?
And the game we're going to look at today, as you could see on the screen, is Battle Axe. This is made by the same guys that did Xeno Crisis, I think it was called. And a fairly legendary pixel artist was the pixel artist and lead designer, I think, on this game. His name is something like, hopefully I get this right, Henk Nieborg. So,
I believe,
yep.
Yeah.
And
Never entirely sure myself.
yeah, exactly. And then, you know, he should just do a joke every time he's interviewed in something. He should tell them, no, and then tell them it's pronounced a different way.
Right, yeah.
So yeah, Hank did a lot of games in the past. I knew him all the way back in the Amiga days. He did a game called Flink, and then he did, which was also on the Mega Drive. He did on the PlayStation a game called something like Adventure of Lomax or something. Lomax was definitely in the name of the game. And then he did Contra 4. He's got something like 40 games, published games under his belt. So he's been around a long time.
Yeah, I did a lot of DS stuff and a lot of things over time. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and as you
Very
can see,
distinct style.
yeah, and very clean, very pro level stuff. Which obviously he's a pro. So there's very little we'll be negatively criticizing on the pixel art end directly. And speaking of negative criticism. Don't get us wrong, guys. When we do a video like this, when we're mentioning things that could be done differently, we're coming from the perspective of developers and pro game artists. And, you know, Corey and I, between the two of us, we've developed a lot of games. And we just want to bring up these topics of things to consider. Of course, everyone would do some things different in any product. We just want to bring up the kind of ideas that game developers might want to think about, different things you can weigh. How could I do this for potentially to maximize the communication to the player, to just make it look better, things like that. Or in some cases, play better. We might be talking about gameplay as well. And also remember, this is our kind of first impression playing the game. So we might say something where we're just missing something. There might be a gameplay feature or something else that would drastically change our opinion if we knew about it. So take all this as food for thought and definitely not any actual direct criticism. Why don't we just jump right into the game? Go ahead and initiate the two-player, Corey.
I guess we'll do arcade.
Yeah. Yep. Oh yeah, and the other thing. Oh, I'm second player. It looks like.
Yeah, it switched us.
How did that happen? Oh, because you picked. That's not bad.
Oh,
because
right,
you picked in the menu, it made you player one. That's kind of cool. All right. Do you know who you want to be?
It doesn't. I guess it doesn't matter.
All right.
I'll be wizard guy. I guess.
All right. I'll be this like rogue-like character, thief-like character here.
That lets you be both the same character if you want.
Yeah, we'd have to check. I wonder if they do like a color remap if you both control. I would hope so. The same character. And keep in mind, everyone, we're screen recording and we're doing the remote play together thing. So, and we're on Skype for voice. So if the game is a little laggy at some places, it's probably due to all that and not due to the just general quality of the game as it runs. But to get into the graphics, as like we said, just really nice, clean pixel art. It is interesting. I saw a bit of this game before. I did a quick test to make sure the game runs. And there are definitely moments in here where I think that Hank may have done the good old model in 3D, and then I'm surprised we're not seeing any enemies. Modeling in 3D and then hand pixel cleaning up. Did we just go to a totally naked part of the game? That's
I don't know. I didn't see anywhere to go over there, so
yeah. What's up with that?
I'm looking.
Yeah. Why do we feel closed in? What's going on? Okay, bridge. Yeah, like it seems like they relied purely on the if there's no enemies, you've been here before, and when you see enemies alive, that means that's where you should go. But as you could see there, so that thing there, I think that was 3D rendered and then hand pixel cleaned up, this device here, which I think is a troll generator or something like that.
Right, yeah.
And so I think I spotted a few things. Even the characters and enemies might be done that way, but I didn't really stop to analyze them long enough to know that for sure. But when you have a game where characters can aim and walk in more than 4 directions, it's often a very good idea to use that approach if the artist or an artist on your team is can do good 3D modeling that can save you a lot of work and ensure a level of quality where the character doesn't change their proportions or their looks accidentally depending on the angle, because a human artist is going to make a lot of mistakes representing the same thing in really specific kind of semi-isometric perspective.
Right, and you can do that. Like, there's the old-fashioned way that we remember that could look bad sometimes for characters or whatever, but you can do that in an abstract way, if you're intelligent about it, and then add any extra exaggerated animation after the fact.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a good...
Okay, I'm sure we put in some kind of transition here in the video. Basically, we were having too many internet issues on Corey's end, so his microphone volume was going low or starting to robot. So we're going to try to finish this video by kicking Corey from the game, and I'll just screen share with him, and he can watch me play, and we can continue the conversation and check out the gameplay and pixel art that way. So let's see how Steam Remote Play handles me kicking the second player, or actually the first player in this case, mid-game. Right. So this is an interesting experiment. So I'm kicking Corey. And now what I think is going to happen, which is unfortunate, is there's just going to be the other player just there. So let me resume. And yep, he's just a sitting duck now.
Oh.
Yeah, unfortunate. But so I'll just quickly restart the game. It's not like we made a ton of progress before this happened. Right. All right, here we go. So let's get back into playing. And I'll continue as the same character. And let's catch up to where we were. Alright, okay, so interesting. Do they randomly generate the levels a little bit? I don't remember us going in this direction the first time around. I could be wrong.
No, I think it was like this.
Oh, okay.
I remember. But it's possible. No, yeah, because there's that bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was it. But that would be interesting if there was an element of that to this. I'm not certain. I haven't looked into it. So I'm coming into this, like, I watched the art, sort of the development of this game in terms of its marketing, and it looked really neat, but I didn't look much into how it played or anything before we really tried it out, so.
Yes. Alright. Oh, it switches items. That's interesting. That reminds me of the one of the Castlevanias on the Super Nintendo that introduced that. I think it was first on the TurboGrafx 16 Castlevania game, the Turbo CD game. I can't remember what the name of that one was. But that finally introduced weapon switching, so you wouldn't accidentally grab a knife if you really wanted the boomerang, or, you know what I mean? Like, it would pop out and fall on the floor if you picked up a new weapon, so that you could decide to switch back if you had accidentally grabbed it. But, these bushes were a weird decision. Like, I think it's there to fool you to think, oh, that area is blocked off, but if you walk a little further up, oh, there's a treasure chest. It looks like that's the only reason that's there. But at the same time, it's kind of playing with the video game trope where bushes block you.
Right.
Like, it looks blocked off, so...
Or that you could, like, get rid of the bushes? Like
slash
style,
them,
get rid of them and go through there.
That would be way more gratifying, actually, if they had done that, in my opinion. Put more of them there, instead of just one row, and make it so you could slash them away. But anyway, nitpicky, just ideas again. It's not real negative criticism, it's just food for thought. Let's see what some of the... Oh, yeah, okay. So I have a special move. I think that's what that red meter is for. It's like a burn down thing. Oh wow, super bomb move. Okay, I'm getting used to what these buttons do. Yep. So basically, I can do that more powerful desperation move if my red meter is full or close to full, and it'll empty it out faster.
I do really enjoy how occasionally, you know, you'll get to like the guy in the tower and you destroy the tower, but then the guy like cartoony falls off of it and you have to defeat. That's pretty neat. I like that aspect.
Yeah, and going to the pixel art, like just Henk's pixel art is always fantastic, but these beautiful uses of large blocks of color to detail anything, but then also any one thing is very largely monochromatic or duochromatic. Like you've got these stairs that are gray, this crater that is gray, like really smart use. And we've talked about this in some of our other forensic pixology and let's play videos, how clean that keeps your pixel art, and it really helps make sure that your character sprites and important things always really pop beautifully off of the background and you don't end up with what I call confetti syndrome.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, really nice stuff. Very tasteful use of color. Really nice.
Yeah,
yep, go ahead.
Yeah, even like that slight perspective on the edges of the bridge. Just enough to sell the idea that it's got that depth, but not really messing with the entire look of it, you know. So I like that a lot.
And then you've got the sort of classic lighting from top left, so the side of the bridge is darkened, which helps sell the curved nature of it even more and give it more three-dimensional shape. You've got the nice... Oh, another thing I really like about this game, which makes sense since Henk is an actual veteran pixel artist that worked on games for Mega Drive and other classic 16-bit systems and stuff. The more modern effects that are in the game are really tastefully the same way they would have been in the 16-bit era. Like there's semi-transparency, but it's just a clean, it's not 24-bit alpha blending. Things are just like 50% opaque. Like a lot of classic arcade. Oh, I died.
Yeah, this feels very almost like you could have made it PS1 era kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Like around that age, like maybe a little beyond the earlier 16-bit systems. Like it's definitely beyond that, but it's still, I know what you mean though. Like it strikes right in that classic zone without overdoing any, smudgy kind of effects that can jar you out of the pixel art look too easy, you know. So and like Super Nintendo could have done this game for the most part, except it could not have done it in. So I need to switch to projectile weapons here. And it's almost a shmup for now, which is cool. Switching up gameplay is great. That's especially if your game is an action game and short. Doing things like this, forcing you to switch over to a gameplay style and your kind of secondary weapon, is really great game design. So keep that in mind if you're designing a game. Make sure you introduce certain enemies or boss fights that are really resistant or unreachable with the more common attacks, and where you need to use those secondary gameplay elements to really make sure people get the most out of the gameplay elements and to mix things up. Especially if your game is a short action game, repetition or feeling kind of monotonous is way less excusable than if it's a really long game with a big long story and different levels. Boy, I suck when I'm trying to talk and play at the same time. Well, and that's what that should always. Whoa.
Can I continue? That's the question.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's always part of your testing process, is making sure you don't get into those moments of the game that are too boring for too long or something.
Yeah.
You have to. Did you don't have any extra lives?
I don't think there's any extra. There's no continues and 3 lives, I think. Wow. I remember reading something about that surprised me for a modern game. That was common back in the day for a lot of console games, especially when the rental craze, like video game rental craze, popped in. They would intentionally make, especially in America, a lot of games ridiculously hard so that if kids rented the game for the weekend, they would not likely beat the game and therefore would theoretically be more tempted to buy the game so they could beat it. so they would, you know what I mean, or at least rent it more times. But yeah, this is definitely, maybe there's a secret that we could find out about if I just keep dying. But you can see there's, even in that back layer, there's those clouds.
So you did just respawn. Is there any indicate? Oh, the number next to your icon is the number of lives you have. I get it now. I thought that was like the player number.
Oh, that one is my life.
And now it's a 1. Yeah, you have
wow.
1 life left.
Jeez. I already died? Yep, wow, you die fast. Yeah, this is not a game you could just muscle through while you're chatting the first time you played and make good progress.
Yeah, I guess it's really incentivizing having a second player for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And just playing, you know, playing enough to really get good at it. Like, I'm definitely sucking up a storm because I've not really played before, and
right.
And, you know, trying to really talk and look at the pixel art and play at the same time is definitely challenging.
That's how they did it. That's how they added the challenge. They just made the game so beautiful.
There you go.
You can't get through it without getting distracted by all the awesome stuff.
Yeah, that actually reminds me. This is a weird digression, but it reminds me of a Frank Frazetta painting. It was called something like the Shock or the Surprise Warrior or Horse or something, but it was basically like a warrior, kind of like in armor, carrying a naked woman like across the back of the horse and charging through a battlefield, presumably to distract the opposing side with a naked woman so they can't fight as well. But anyway, yeah. Weird memory, like, yeah.
No, yeah.
But anyway, yeah, we're not going to get that far doing it this way.
Is infinite mode like potentially infinite play with the same lives, or is that just like unlimited lives, you think?
Oh, well, let's try it. Well, you know,
yeah, you might as
just
well give it
anyway.
a go since it's in the menu and see what the difference is.
Oh, maybe you have infinite lives, but you don't see the ending or something. Like, that would be a really nice practice mode, at least.
Yeah.
So one player, infinite mode.
It might be totally different from what I'm thinking, though. So.
Left or right picks a different color theme, at least if you're in one player. Nice.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah. So I'll pick the character that I have the most chance of surviving with. Oh, this is a totally different place. Interesting.
Oh, this seems a little more like Gauntlet-like with the walls and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is just going to be like more like a survival thing. You just see how long you can survive. So it's cool. They apparently offer a different gameplay mode for more value. But that is one important topic I wanted to bring up in this video, is this idea that Corey and I really care about because we're working on 2 of our own indie retro arcade action style games. And for us, we really feel like, in the same way that most game developers jumped off the 2D thing and went to 3D as soon as like the PlayStation 1 era started, something similar happened even in 2D games, where suddenly everyone just kind of forgot about raw fun factor and replayability, and there became this kind of marketing theme that everyone just eventually seemed to just buy into completely, that value equals how many hours it takes you to beat the game the first playthrough, and not how much fun, how many fun hours of game you can get before you're just bored with the game and don't want to touch it again for like a year until you clear your palate of it. Right. And like, that's something we're trying to go for with the games we're making. Is it's not a long game that takes you a long time, especially once you're good at it, to beat. But the idea is we're going to take our time, instead of spending all that development time to just keep throwing in more levels, more items, more enemies. We're going to refine the hell out of the levels that are there and replay them and get feedback from testers to make sure it's extremely enjoyable, and we keep mixing up the gameplay and, you know, do things like that and give you, you know, in the case of Metro Siege, different selectable characters that play very differently, so that you could replay the game with a different character and get a lot of variety that way. So many modern games, it's like, yeah, it might take you 20 hours to play, but most of that is, my joke is you're just in the forest grinding, killing chocobos to build your level up, but it's not really, you're not really seeing new stuff, you're not really having fun.
Yep.
And,
it's sort of like as a food analogy, it's kind of like, do you want that like perfectly cooked, like 8-ounce steak or something?
Right.
Or do you want like 5 pounds of broccoli?
Right.
You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. I understand
Yeah.
the health and nutrition going on there, but
right.
You see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I feel the same way. I want that idea of, hey, if I play for 5 minutes, I want it to be a really good 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And I like long format games in their own way. I am into some things like strategy games and stuff sometimes. But, for an action game, if that's your goal,
yeah,
you want it to be that sort of condensed fun. And this is very, this seems a little more action-packed, this Infinite mode, than the regular game. I don't know.
Well, especially if you get lost like we did. Like,
right.
That definitely is my one feedback so far for gameplay. In a game like this, especially if it's short, it should stay fast action, keep you on your toes, really minimize the ability to get lost even for a second, give people those arrows, or even if people can get lost, I would say, but, this is different in this game because they do the limited, like you can't just keep continuing and playing. So
right.
Because of that, then they shouldn't do this, but otherwise, keep the enemies coming, even if it's in the same spot, so that you're constantly looking for where to go next, and you're not just...
They might have... It's possible they tried that, but in those more open maps, they realized that it tempted the player to stay where they were instead of moving on.
Yeah.
But yeah, at least like an arrow or... Yeah, like, hey,
a nice blinky arrow.
Continent, island, floating island thing or whatever those are, yeah.
Exactly.
I guess maybe they're supposed to be just really high cliffs. I wasn't paying enough attention to really be able to determine. It seemed like floating continents to me, though.
Yeah, I did want to mention that level in particular, level 1, really reminded me. I never actually played any of the Toe Jam and Earl games. But it certainly caught my attention, and the weirdness of that was supposed to be Earth. Like, you were the aliens, but you were on Earth.
Yeah.
But boy, was that a weird place. Like you're just...
That is a really fun cooperative game. Like, you play as both characters, world thing, and it does have randomized worlds. You can play it normal or randomized.
Oh, interesting.
So that game has a lot of replay value for 2 players. Like, it's a little... It's not that great single player, I'll admit, that game.
Yeah.
But if you have a friend or something, that's an excellent one to...
Yeah, so going back to the art, Oh yeah, that is something interesting. I think it's impossible to fall off, so even though you're in environments that have these really high cliffs and potentially deadly falls everywhere, it's not a part of the gameplay. Like, I don't think it lets you walk off or get knocked off, which is fine, it's just an observation. But going back to the pixel art, look at I love how Henk is not afraid to use large areas of a single color. If there was a single tile repeating grass texture under all of this stuff, even if it kept all the other detail, if it had that repeating universal grass texture under there, you wouldn't be doing the game any favors visually.
No, a lot of this too, like, you can get away with more detail if it's a different kind of game. I think it's like, this is a fast-paced action game where there's pretty quick scrolling.
Yep.
And when it's like that, and need to be able to quickly see the enemies, it's actually better to sort of simplify that ground plane so that it's not loaded up with too much detail. Yeah. You might want a different style for something where there's less action, but this is brilliant in that way. It kind of reminds me, wasn't there a Sega game that was played a little bit like this?
Very much, yep. It was Amiga too, if we're talking about the same game. What was that game called? It'll come to me.
I'm drawing a blank on it, but it was a beautiful game, and it did similar things like this with the art as well. So
Absolutely.
it reminds me of that.
Yeah, why can't I think of, like, I'm a big Amigan, so why can't I think
I
of the
know
name of the game?
you were showing me that game a while back, and gushing over it
Yeah.
as far as just like how good it was.
The cleanness of the pixel art. Imagine if that was Henk too. It very well could be. But let's see. I used to mock the voice acting. Like when you picked up one of the items, it would go special power.
Special power.
But I can't think of the name of the game. But they did the same thing, like really using a lot of blank area of single color and then putting these really nice, elegantly done rank E. Yeah, that sounds about right.
was it Chaos Engine?
There you go. Good job.
Chaos
Excellent. Yeah.
That was a Bitmap Brothers game. Actually,
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I think that is correct. I think it was.
And it was another sort of take on that Gauntlet style, where it's like you're getting the keys and going to the next area and you're fighting guys. It very much like this, but this is obviously the modernized take.
Yeah. And I would say even the graphics are definitely a step up. Not only just because they can use more color and it's widescreen and stuff like that, but it just, the art is even better. But anyway, I guess we should end it there. And sorry that we couldn't do a two-player and couldn't get through more of the game. Hopefully this was enjoyable and somewhat educational. And thanks very much for watching.
If you enjoy our content and want to keep up to date on our games, please leave a like and subscribe. Also, if you want to support our projects, consider becoming a patron. The link's in the description, and we'll see you soon.